Okay, so today we are at Cunningham Park on a nice cold Sunday morning. It's about 33 degrees. Hopefully the dirt is going to be nice and frozen. Hopefully we don't encounter too many ruts, because today we're taking out the Grim Ripper, which hopefully you can see on the bike rack there. And this is going to be my first trail ride on this bike, which I'm super excited about. Took it for a spin around the block, tried to jump off of whatever I could, and it was super fun. So hopefully we can find some jumps in here and some shreddy bermies. And I think Mr. Octo Jelly is ready for a shreddy. Oh, it's so... Ooh! Okay, so this is literally my first trail ride on the Grim Ripper. So you have to bear with me, since the last time I actually rode a hardtail through a whole trail was like 7 years ago. Right off the bat, I was impressed by how easy it was to pump the rear of the bike into these tight bermed corners that Cunningham is known for. The frozen dirt was definitely helping it feel responsive in the corners, but I think I may have too much sealant in these tires, since the rolling resistance seemed noticeably higher, even though I'm running the same tires. I can hear a lot of sealant swooshing around, but either way, I quickly realized how a trail I've ridden many times became more exhilarating on the downhills, since your sense of speed is shifted on a hardtail. Even though I was certainly going slower than I have in a long time, it felt more intense than usual, and that's what I was aiming to get out of a hardtail. Whoa! Dan and I both did this infamous rock feature at Cunningham, and honestly I don't think I've ever hit it on any bike before. The Grim Ripper has a bottom bracket drop of 55mm, which I thought might have given me some issues with clearance, but it worked super well on this particular rock pile. Another thing that was really helpful was the high engagement hub on these Bontrager wheels, which really allowed me to get a couple little pedal strokes in as I kind of got over the hump of the rock. Something that has definitely been keeping me honest on the hardtail is I'm realizing how stiff my legs can be on like chunky terrain, and you'll see in this kind of like waterfall of rocks that's a pretty technical feature at Cunningham. I was way too stiff in my legs, and as I came down it, I like just blew off the pedals because I wasn't ready for the rear wheel to bounce around a bit, and then kind of that compression at the bottom. Oh! Oh! Fuck. My feet came off and the pedals did they? Slapped me. So for the second part of this video, we're at Glacier 8 or Hidden Pond Park in Hauppauge, which is Long Island. And this place definitely has a little bit more elevation than Cunningham, and a lot of good berms, a few jumps in here. So I think it should be really fun on this new hardtail. So let's go check it out. All right, so right off the bat, we want to start out on Orange Palooza, which is probably my favorite trail at Glacier 8. It has a ton of berms, a few jumps and drops going on, a little bit of skinny, and it was a great way to test out how this bike feels in the corners. And immediately I realized how it definitely behaves better when you try and lean the bike over and stay centered, rather than, putting more steering input to the handlebars. I guess the slacker geometry kind of lends to that. And one thing that I am noticing, it feels pretty stable at speed, and we do get up to some decent speed here compared to Cunningham, since Glacier 8 has some more elevation, more downhill feel to the trails. But I have the chainstay in the longer position for the 27.5 wheel. I definitely find it a bit tricky to manual this bike like my old bike. So I might have to play around and go to the shorter setting, cut my chain down to the right length to make that work. But it does feel very snappy in the corners, which I do like. So I don't know, it might be a catch-22 there. I always love trying to shoot through this berm, kind of slap it and accelerate down the trail into this loose turn, kind of go with a little shoot, and then a nice wide berms to kind of finish out this trail. Then there's this weird concrete jump. I was a little bit scared to actually jump it, so I just manualed it. Hopefully I'll get that again soon. I just really don't want to case a literal concrete block. That pretty much wraps up Orange Palooza, and then you start to climb back up and you get a sweet little downhill with 2 jumps to it. And so I tried to get a little steezy action on it. Manual jump to flat basically, but it felt pretty good. Can definitely boost it fairly well. Just got to be prepared for that landing. Then I found another cool section that seems like it's kind of been reworked lately. That kind of shoots between the blue and the orange Palooza trail. And it was super fun.
Endo in. Step up out. Fast skinny. Table. Oh yeah.
Now to finish out this little ride at Glacier 8, I rode the Pink Floyd Trail, which has some decent downhill sections and a couple loose pebble-filled turns. Definitely a bit tricky to keep a smooth line through a sharp pebble turn on these absolutely minuscule 27.5-inch wheels, but nonetheless we prevailed. I hit the narrow skinny at the end of the trail, which I must say, skinnies feel trickier on a hardtail since the rear end is actually moving around with any undulation from the log itself. Then I got a little drifty in the leafy corners on the way to the parking lot and called it a day. Hopefully you enjoyed watching my first 2 rides on the Grim Ripper, and remember, stay venturing, my friends.